Hey, I'm back here with another review. Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 1, Reunion, Part 1. The only thing this reunion really let me know so far, it just solidifies why I cannot stand Lisa and I don't want her on my screen anymore. I've never really seen somebody who's so self-absorbed. Like, even in her apology, it's self-absorbed. Even you, because Whitney said it and it's so true. She gives underhanded apologies and underhanded, backhanded compliments. It's always something under fucking neat that Lisa. And I'm gonna go off the way I went off. If you guys are familiar with my Real Housewives of Beverly Hills this last season, the way I went the way I went in on everybody else for when pretty much when they were saying that Denise was the reason why nobody liked Lisa and nobody liked I forgot whoever the other person was, and Teddy, that's how I'm about to go in, because everything I said in that video and about that situation, it applies to this one. So let's get to it. I'm gonna have to put my glasses on, y'all. I can't see for shit. Okay. So one of the first things, I'm sorry, my notes is a little bit all over the place. They're not going to flow correctly or anything like that. It's just going to kind of bounce around a little bit. But, so one of the first things that was brought up is about Jen's comments on Meredith's son's, okay, well, we know his name, on Brooke's little sweatsuit line or whatever. And I guess the question was like, oh, did you feel some type of way about what she said? And Meredith was like, I mean, I didn't hate it or anything, but I just thought it was inappropriate. And Jen was like, well, at the end of the day, it was one sweatsuit and that's not a fashion line. And that is true. Like, it's not a fashion line. But I do think that it was something that she shouldn't have said. I'm sorry, y'all. He's in the room playing again. Hold on. Babe, can you turn it down a little bit? Yeah. Leave the fuck off, man. Anyway, so yeah, so again, I agree with what Jen said in a sense of like, that's correct. It really wasn't a fashion line. But I do agree with Meredith when it's like, if you're supposed to be my friend and that's my child, why would you say something like that? Like, that's something that you keep to yourself. You didn't have to say that, Jen. What else? And then Meredith also brings up, what she brings up again later on, is that Jen has talked shit about Brooks online. And I don't follow Jen Shaw on Twitter. I really don't follow that many people at all on Twitter. I just go under the scroll. But she says that she never said anything about him. And I'm going to get to the one point that Meredith did bring up about Jen saying something about Brooks. I'll get to that because I got something to say about that shit. So then we talk about the birthday party that Jen threw for Meredith, and you know how pretty much Meredith was just a little bit uncomfortable because it was Lisa's birthday that day, like particular that day that it was the birthday party was on, that was Lisa's birthday. So she kind of felt like a little bit awkward and a little off. And she said, I told Jen, if you're going to have a party for me, then you need to do a double party because it's actually actually Lisa's birthday. And so they talked about that. Lisa said that she was mad at the party because of how everybody was treating her. And she said that Heather was super dismissive of her. But this is how I look at it. Yes, she was dismissive of her, but correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that after Heather found out that Lisa was going around telling Jen and everybody that she didn't know her? If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. But I swear that's probably why I think Heather like had an attitude with her, because you said you don't know me, right? So if you don't know me, why are you trying to like talk to me and be friendly? Because you don't know me, right? All right then, I catch your drift, bitch. So I think that's the order it happened then. And if so, then I'm all here for how Heather handled that. Then Andy asks Whitney, do you feel like Lisa is jealous of you, you know, because of her comments about you being on the poll? And Whitney said, no, I don't think she's jealous of me. I just think that she thinks she's better than me. And I agree. I think Lisa thinks she's better than almost everybody on that cast except maybe Meredith. That's the attitude that you give off, which we talked about at the end. You do have a holier than thou, better than thou attitude. That is exactly how you treat people. The only person you kind of don't treat like that is Meredith. Everybody else on that cast, you pretty much look at them and you treat them like you're better than them. And that has nothing to do with anything Heather said. I'm going to get there. I'm going to wait because I'm going to get there. So then Lisa was like, because they was talking about the birthday party that was had for Coach Shaw, and you know, Lisa was like, I mean, I don't really have a problem with Whitney. I just thought it was inappropriate the way that she was dancing in front of somebody else's husband. And shout out, first of all, Heather was on Lisa's neck the whole night. Her foot was on her neck and she wouldn't let the fuck up, and it makes me stand for Heather even more. But Heather was like, okay, so you said she was on the ground doing too much in front of her husband, but who did you do your split in front of? And the footage rolled of her doing a split specifically in front of Coach Shaw. So shut the fuck up, Lisa. You just don't like Whitney. Just sit in your shit. You don't like her. Okay? So then we move on to Jen's segment. And Andy asks, you know, have you had any like work done on your face? And she's like, no, I mean, my nose was broken one time and I've had fillers and Botox, but that's it. I don't have the picture up right. Let me see if I can. Because if any of y'all watch Keisha, aka Color Me Pink, shout out to Keisha. She showed the picture of what Jen used to look like. Hold on. Here we go. If y'all never seen it before. I'm sorry, my phone is attached to my thing because it's hold on, y'all. It's coming up. If you don't hear it, it'll come up. I'm just use this other one because I really don't care. Alright, I don't care. But look, y'all. I'm sorry, my phone cut off. But yeah, that's the same. That picture that I just put up a second ago, that is what Jen Shaw used to look like. Now, does it look like her a little bit in like the main? Yeah, but it's still, girl, your cheeks is all crazy. Your chin looks different. It all looks different as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, so you're full of shit as far as I'm concerned when it comes to that. Then Andy asks, like, what is it that the Shaw Squad does? Like, what do they do? Like, all we know is that, like, they're your assistants, but what is it that you do? Now, she says that she worked in direct marketing for years, and so she has an advertising company that pretty much deals with the analytics and stuff like that behind the advertising. I'm a digital marketer, so a lot of money is to be made from that. Hey, Jen Shaw, look, if you want, you know I come for you a lot, but girl, if you want to give me a job, I'm here for it. So I do believe that she probably makes a shitload of money doing that, but we just never know because we don't get to see that side of Jen. So I hope next season we can see more of a business side of Jen, because we don't ever see that. We just see her sitting at home doing absolutely the fuck nothing, unless she's lying. So yeah, so then Andy pretty much asks Jen, like, you know, with the whole situation with your father, like, Coach Shaw seems like somebody that can, you know, that you can talk to, like, he's very clear-headed, level-headed. Is there something that he did that makes you feel uncomfortable as far as talking to him? And so she says, well, you know, not really. It's just the fact that he wasn't home a lot. And, you know, when he was home, I'm not trying to start an argument because he got to leave in a little bit. So I can understand how that can, you know, fester up. But she got to open her mouth and start talking. So then Mary was dragging Jen the whole, like, slightly getting her together the whole night. It was cracking me the hell up. So Mary pretty much is like, well, because they was talking about Jen's temperament. And Mary's like, well, I just don't understand why she gets so temperamental when my name's brought up. It just seems like she's triggered when my name is brought up. So then I believe Lisa jumps in. I'm sorry, I keep putting my glasses. I'm just going to keep my glasses on. So then Lisa jumps in and Lisa goes, no, like, that's not true. I don't think that it has anything to do with you in particular. And Mary stops her right there and says, so then why did you tell me that in the car? That's what you told me in the car. You said to me in the car, I don't know why it is that, you know, when your name is brought up, that it becomes such an issue. So what do you mean? And then Mary was like, when I said that I talked to Meredith and Lisa on 2 separate occasions, that's one of the occasions that I'm talking about. So Jen, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Where am I? So yeah, so, oh, sorry, because that happened a little bit later. So then we move on. And Andy asks Heather, did Jen ever apologize to you, you know, for going off on you that night that she was really drunk and you was just, you know, you got her in the car and got her home? And she said, no, she did not. So Jen goes, I'm sorry. And so Andy laughs and Heather laughs, and they're just like, that was a bullshit ass excuse. That was a bullshit ass excuse. And Heather was like, you're just full of shit. Like, first of all, like Andy said, you waited a whole year to apologize. And then secondly, that wasn't a full hearted like apology. You just was saying sorry just to say sorry. And I do think that Jen, kind of like she did on the last episode, I think she realizes the damage that has been done as far as her acting a fool on TV. So she's trying her best to just stay contained in the itty bitty box, you know, versus going being a little bit outlandish. But I understood what Heather was saying. So let me see, who is she talking about? So yeah, so when they're still talking about that, and you know, Heather is just like, well, at the end of the day, this is how I feel. I feel like you really didn't want to be friends with me anymore. You was trying to trade up for this and her talking. When she said this and pointed to Lisa, I screamed, straight scream. Heather wasn't letting that Louis Vuitton, I don't know what kind of shoes she had on, but I'm gonna call it a Louis Vuitton. She wasn't letting the Louis Vuitton off Elisa's neck. She was not having it all night. So then Jen pretty much says to Mary, you know, because I think Mary was talking to Heather, you know, about how she should be a good friend and stuff like that. And Jen was like, oh, well, you should be doing the same. And Mary said, I do not want to be your friend. That's the difference. Do you get it? I said, I don't really have a problem with Mary. She's like, I'm indifferent about her. But when she gets Jen together, which she did the whole entire night, the way Heather was on Lisa's neck is the way Mary was on Jen's neck the whole night. She was getting her, I don't want to be your friend. And I appreciate that, because that doesn't happen a lot in Housewives when, you know, it's obvious when people are like, oh, I don't like you or whatever the case may be. But I respect the fact that Mary is not trying to kiss Jen's ass, and she's just like, bitch, I don't like you and I don't want to befriend you. It's just that simple. It cracks me the hell up. So then we get on to Vagina Gate, okay, and that whole situation. And you know, wasn't just me, I couldn't tell if Meredith was like lying or not. Like, this segment to me was a little bit weird. It felt like Meredith was kind of lying. Meredith is not very good at like being quick on her feet. Like, I could tell she's not very good at coming back with something. It's like she stumbles over her words. She kind of pauses a lot and yeah, and okay, but you know, she explains, you know, oh, well, you know, Brooks and my daughter were so upset about the whole thing, and you know, you never apologized, or you never even said you were sorry for making them feel uncomfortable. And Jen said that I guess that night in particular, she didn't know that's what the issue was. She was like, Brooks came upstairs and caught you smoking, and then he had an attitude about that. And she said, yeah, he did. She said, so that's why I thought he was upset. I didn't think he was upset because of whatever happened with me. And then Meredith says, well, you're the one who video recorded me and you kept it. And Andy was like, wait, so she took a video recording of you smoking and then put it on social media? She said, no, not on social media, but she hasn't. And Jen says that she doesn't. I want to understand, how does Meredith know that? I want to understand that. I want to understand, how does she know that she did and she currently has it? I would like to know that. And then Jen says, well, if you were so upset about the whole situation, like, why did you let me spend the night? Like, you let me spend the night there. And she was like, I didn't let you spend the night. You fell out on my bed. I do kind of agree with Jen in that like predicament. If you were really, really pissed about the whole situation, after your kids left, not that much longer, you should have told Jen to come home. So that's why I feel like, Meredith, you're kind of full of shit on that whole situation. So then Andy says something like, yeah, like, y'all are all, you know, like, very understanding and stuff like that of Jen and how it is that she acts out. And Mary said, y'all, all of y'all except me. Mary was cracking me up. She's like, all of y'all except me, because at the end of the day, I get where Mary's coming from. I kind of do, because if I'm looking at it from her perspective, it's like Jen does all of this crazy ass shit, right? And for whatever reason, y'all all go out of y'all way to coddle her and to see how she's doing. But when it comes to me, nobody's reaching out to really befriend me. Nobody is reaching out to try to be my friend or to try to hang out with me. Y'all are all for some reason trying to kiss Jen's ass. So I can understand that from her perspective. And you know, Lisa says, no, but I care about you. Mary said, Lisa, you don't give a fuck about me. Like, just cut the bullshit. You really don't. care about me, and you need to mind your business because I wasn't even talking to you. Lisa did jump in about 15 times. Anytime it had something to do with Jen and Mary, she was jumping in. Now, granted, she was sitting directly in between them, but still, Lisa, keep your mouth shut. Nobody cares. So let's get to the Lisa segment. Okay, I might be screaming a little bit, so I want y'all to turn your headphones out, and if you have headphones in, because I'm about to probably go in and let the fuck have, because I'm so over it. So they do her whole little package or whatever, and one of the first questions that's asked is your ambition more important than your family? I have in my notes, yes, in all capital letters. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't want nobody to be in my comments like, oh, well, nobody comes after men. I do. I hate men that put their jobs and shit like that before their families. They're just as trash too. Yep, they count in that. They count too. Okay, so it ain't a man or woman thing. And so then she starts getting quote unquote emotional because my kids are like the best thing in the world. Girl, not a tear dropped. Not one tear dropped. Not one. You cried because you feel like you had to. Cut the shit. Cut the shit, Lisa. Cut the shit. So then somebody is like, so then again, the whole thing comes up about, I mean, the question is like, why pretty much are you so better than that? Like, why is that your attitude? And the answer that she gives has nothing to do with why she thinks she's that way. It's about her talking about herself. And, oh, well, I've had to work so hard, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I've done that. Again, feeding into what that person asked when they said, why do you think you're better? Actually, she kind of answered it perfectly. Why do you act like you better than everybody else? And she sat up there and she listed, to me, why she thinks she's better than everybody else. Because she's accomplished so much, and she's done so damn much. Like, that's what it is. That's why Lisa goes in so much, because she feels like she's put in more work than anybody else on that stage, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And kind of like Andy alluded to, like, you didn't even really answer the question. So they kind of go into this whole back and forth about, you know, Lisa pretty much feeling like she's better than everybody else. And I love Jen tried to jump in, and Mary was like, mind your business, girl, because she was pretty much saying to Lisa, like, you should take this situation or this experience of seeing yourself on TV, and you should use it as a way to grow. But it don't seem like you're going to. It doesn't seem like you want to. It seems like you're stuck in the fact, because she even said, oh no, I'm glad I am the way I am. Okay, but like Heather ended up saying, sorry, we'll get there in a second. Mary was like, you know, people are trying to tell you that you make others feel bad, like the way that you talk to them. And Lisa was like, well, you do the same thing, Mary. And she said, well, who do I do that to? And she said, Jen. She said, okay. She said, who else? Who else? And then she was like, your church. I mean, when I seen how you talk, she was like, don't talk about my church. I don't talk about you and your tequila and your alcohol, so don't talk about me and my church and how that works. So then we get into the question that I've wanted to know all season long, since the episode premiere, which I think was like episode 2. Lisa, why were you so offended by Whitney telling you about the behaviors of the bartenders? Go back and watch that part. She couldn't answer it. She dead ass could not answer the question. What she said was, oh, well, those are contractors, and I've worked with them a lot. She never answered the question about that in particular. She said, oh, I got offended because of the text message that was sent later. Girl, that's not what you said on camera. You said on camera that they were attacking your brand. And if they were a third-party vendor, then how was that attacking your brand? You could have easily said to Whitney, oh, well, you want to know what? Don't, wait. Those weren't my bartenders. Like, I borrowed them from somebody else, but best to believe I won't use them again. You're full of shit. You wanted a reason to have smoke with Whitney. It just pisses me off. So then, you know, they going into a whole back and forth or whatever. And, you know, Heather, like I said, Heather is right pretty much when she was like, when she said to Lisa, like, you are perceived the way you are because of how you act. And this is what pretty much pissed me off. Because Lisa at the end is going off talking about some, oh, Heather, it's your fault. Like, I get all of these DMs and messages talking about how I'm a bitch and how I'm a mean girl and how I'm a bad mother and all this. Well, before she said the bad mother part, She said, you know, you keep saying that I'm a mean girl and I'm a bitch, and Heather said you are. But at the end, she was like, oh, I'm getting all of these DMs and stuff like that, you know, saying because you're calling me a mean girl and you're calling me a bitch and I'm getting called a bad mother. And Heather was like, I said that? I never said that. So you're trying to tell me that's what I said. And Andy's like, no, she's saying like the way you reacted to her. So again, and Lisa said out her mouth, yeah, the way that you're portraying me on TV is why everybody else is coming for you. Let me tell you something right now, Lisa. As a viewer of this show, I have reviewed every episode, I think, except 1 or 2. Heather, I'm having a flashback of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm having a flashback because this is the exact same speech that I had about them. Heather is not the reason that people don't like you. I need you housewives to stop getting on this screen and saying that it's everybody else's fault why no one likes you. Let's be real, Lisa. You and Heather's problem, little friction, that was at the beginning of this season. That was literally episode maybe 1, 2, and maybe 3. And after that, whatever problems y'all had wasn't even really brought up anymore. You want me to go through the line about why we call you all those things? Number 1, you're called a mean girl and you're called a bitch because that's how you act. You walk around acting like you're better than everybody else. You feel like nobody can top you. You feel like you always doing somebody else a favor and not the opposite, okay? And the reason why people call you a bad mother, is because of what that person asked earlier. It seems as if you put your ambition before your children. And I have sat on this damn phone and screen at what the fuck ever I'm on. And I've said it 15 times throughout the reviews I've done. Your husband, first of all, your husband asked you multiple times to take a step away from the business every now and again and spend time with him and your children. And we've seen you on national TV pretty much give your husband your ass to kiss. And then when it is time for you to spend time with your children, it still has to be connected to money. That, I think, is what most people are talking about. Or at least I know that's what I'm fucking talking about. I'm not going to sit up here and call you a bad mother, but I see why people say it. I do. I ain't going to even sit up here and sugarcoat it. I see why people do. Heather, it makes no sense. How can Heather make a bad perception of you when you're on the same damn show? It would be one thing if you weren't on the show and Heather was just on this show talking shit about you. But you're on this show too. So if Heather was talking shit about you or trying to talk down on your name, you have the opportunity when you're on screen to change people's minds. You have the opportunity while you're on screen to change the quote-unquote perception of yourself. Okay? Jen has gone this whole season talking shit about Mary and how terrible Mary is. But guess what? A lot of us don't feel like that about Mary. We might feel like her whole church situation is a little weird, but outside of that, we all don't look at Mary like, you know, like the way Jen wants us to. You have the same platform as Heather. Do not sit in our faces as the viewers and say that somebody else is perceiving you, is pretty much making the rest of us look at you one way. We're not all stupid. We have eyes, we have ears, girl. Get Lisa the fuck out of here. Goodbye.